President Trump signaling a change in the speed of troop withdrawals in Syria. In a tweet today, he wrote this: "We're slowly sending our troops back home to be with their families while at the same time fighting ISIS remnants." His initial announcement stated withdrawals of U.S. military from Syria would be, quote, full and rapid. The president's tweet comes after he had a 2-hour lunch with Senator Lindsey Graham on Sunday, and Graham told reporters afterward that President Trump has agreed to reevaluate.
I think we're slowing things down in a smart way, but the goal has always been the same: to be able to leave Syria, make sure ISIS never comes back. I think we're in a pause situation where we're reevaluating what's the best way to achieve the president's objective.
Let's talk about this with CNN military and diplomatic analyst, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby. He was the Pentagon press secretary and State Department spokesman under President Obama. Okay, this is interesting because you have Lindsey Graham, who, I mean, he doesn't want the troops coming home from Syria at all, let alone the speed with which the president has advocated for. Right. So you're hearing him say this, but he also has an interest in the president slowing things down. What's your view on whether this has really shifted or not?
Something has shifted, clearly. Certainly, at the very least, the pace of the withdrawal. But what's not clear as to what happened in this discussion is what does it mean after that withdrawal is over? And what does it mean when Senator Graham says to ensure ISIS never comes back and that we're reevaluating this? So clearly there is a shift here in the strategy. It's just not, we don't have the details now. We have to wait to kind of see how that rings out.
To ensure ISIS never comes back, I mean, a lot of experts believe that in order to make sure that they don't at least reemerge, there needs to be a presence over there keeping them at bay.
Right. Remember, in 2014 and 2015, it was from Syria, in fact, Manbij, that they were resourcing themselves, training themselves, funding themselves. So they clearly have an intention to restore their presence in Syria should any of the pressure from the international community come off. So it's very, I'm concerned that I don't want us to get wrapped around the axle on just the speed of the withdrawal. The withdrawal itself will reduce our influence and our footprint in Syria, and it's very difficult for me right now, until we see the details, to see how this administration intends to keep that reemergence from happening.
Let's listen to what retired General Stanley McChrystal said. He's the former commander of coalition troops in Afghanistan, and he was talking about this Syria withdrawal on ABC.
Iran has increased influence across the region now. If you pull American influence out, you're likely to have greater instability, and of course it'll be much more difficult for the United States to try to push events in any direction. There's an argument that says we just pull up our stuff, go home, let the region run itself. That has not done well for the last 50 or 60 years.
McChrystal also called the president dishonest, immoral. The president fired back on Twitter this morning. He was talking about failed generals, which really seemed to be about McChrystal. But I wonder, when there's this chorus of people like McChrystal who are saying what he's saying, if you get the sense that any of that is registering with the president?
No, I don't think comments by General McChrystal or even Secretary Mattis really made much of an impact here. I think this is about Senator Graham. And I think, frankly, what you're seeing is a proxy war for the president's ear between Graham and Senator Paul, who obviously was of the other mind, pull everything out now. So I think that's the battle you're seeing there is really between these two senators, I think, for the president's motivations.
The president announced his Syria pullout by saying, "We have won against ISIS." And this was hotly debated because the U.S. has not, right?
Right.
Then he wrote in his latest tweet, quote, "ISIS is mostly gone." Is that an important distinction to you?
It's a rhetorical shift. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's an important distinction. At the very least, it's a recognition by the president that the war's not over, that the fight still goes on. But he needs to understand it's not just about territory. He tends to talk about ISIS as if it's a conventional conflict. And yes, there's a territorial aspect to it. But ISIS is also an ideology. It's a narrative, it's an idea, and it's a network that has global aspirations. ISIS is increasing its footprint and its influence in Afghanistan, for instance, and in the Sahel region, northern Africa. So he needs to take, I think, a more holistic view of it than just that they're mostly gone.
It's like a cancer, truly.
In a way it is.
Retired Rear Admiral John Kirby, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, too.